The movie opens in Mississippi in 1932, where a young man named Sammy stumbles into his local church. His clothes are completely covered in fresh blood, and his face looks incredibly tired. While his father, Jedediah, starts praying for him, Sammy has vivid flashbacks of a terrifying creature. The priest wraps his son in a tight hug, begging him to repent and stop playing the devil's music. Even though he is trembling with fear, Sammy refuses to let go of his broken guitar. The nightmare actually started a day ago, when twin brothers Smoke and Stack returned home. After spending years in the army and working for the Chicago mob, they decided to return to Mississippi. They stole a massive pile of cash from their gangster bosses, using it to buy an old sawmill building from a former Ku Klux Klan member named Hogwood. The twins warn Hogwood to keep his racist friends away, or they will kill them without hesitation. Hogwood just laughs at their warning, claiming that the local clan does not even exist anymore. Meanwhile, Sammy finds his guitar resting inside the church, and Jedediah tells him that he brought the instrument there for tomorrow's sermon. The priest wants his son to read a passage from the Bible, hoping it will keep him safe from worldly temptations. Sammy is tired after a long day of work, so he tells his father that he just wants to go home. This makes Jedediah incredibly angry, warning his son that playing sinful music will eventually attract the devil. Before the family argument can get any worse, the twin brothers pull up in their car to pick Sammy up. Since the twins are his cousins, Sammy gladly hops in to escape his father's suffocating anger. The trio drives deep into the dark woods to find a hidden truck, and Stack quickly kills a venomous snake resting on their supplies. Smoke then takes the wheel of the truck, driving it straight into the middle of the local town to buy supplies from old friends. He heads into a grocery store owned by his old friends Bo and Grace, explaining that he and his brother are opening a brand new juke joint. Suddenly, the loud sound of a truck horn cuts their conversation short, forcing Smoke to rush outside. He spots two thieves trying to steal his hidden alcohol stash, and he immediately opens fire on them. Smoke shoots one robber in the butt and hits the other guy in the leg, causing the criminals to quickly run away in terror. Meanwhile, Stack is driving the car with Sammy, giving his younger cousin some wild advice on how to please a woman. Sammy is not really paying attention because he wants to know the truth about how their father died. Stack explains that their abusive father knocked him unconscious, and he woke up only to see Smoke burning their father to death. Stack hands over their deceased father's old guitar as a precious gift, and Sammy accepts it with a big smile. They eventually arrive at the local train station, where they find a talented musician named Slim playing the harmonica. Stack immediately tries to hire him for their new club, but Slim declines because he has another performance. When Stack notices that Slim is a heavy drinker, he changes his mind by offering him plenty of cash and endless beer. Slim and Sammy start playing a lively tune together, and Stack proudly tells the gathering crowd about their joint opening tonight. While Sammy flirts with a beautiful singer named Pearline, Mary approaches Stack to scold him for disappearing without a word. Stack pretends not to care about her to keep her safe, and then they recruit a cotton worker named Cornbread as their bouncer. Smoke visits his child's grave, and then he visits his ex-wife Annie to ask her to be their cook. Discovering she practices hoodoo, Smoke laughs at her spells, but Annie insists they kept him alive. As the afternoon sun begins to set, a burning Irish immigrant named Remick runs toward a small wooden cabin. Joan and Burr point their shotguns at him, but they hesitate when they see him fall to his knees in tears. Once he spots several Ku Klux Klan uniforms inside the house, he offers them gold coins in exchange for protection. A few moments later, several Choctaw hunters arrive at the cabin to ask about the runaway immigrant. Joan lies directly to their faces, and she quickly slams the wooden door shut. Once the hunters leave, Joan goes to search for her husband and finds him lying on the floor with a massive neck wound. Suddenly, Bert's eyes snap open with a terrifying red glow, revealing that Remick has turned them both into vicious monsters. When night finally falls, the grand opening of the juke joint is a massive success. The music is incredibly loud, and the crowded room is filled with laughter and dancing. However, Smoke gets very angry when he discovers that Stack is letting people pay with plantation credits. Stack and Annie quickly calm him down, arguing that bending the rules will make the place popular and eventually bring in actual cash. As the party continues, Mary tries to slide past the front door to see Stack. Cornbread blocks her path at first, but he lets her pass when he realizes she's an old childhood friend. When Sammy spots her walking through the crowd, he immediately tries to kick her out. Mary completely ignores his warnings, dragging Sammy over to the bar for a quick drink while explaining that her grandfather was half black. Smoke and Stack confront Mary, and Stack even offers to pay her off to make her leave because he wants her to be safe. A massive argument breaks out between the former lovers, and the emotional tension quickly reaches a boiling point. Stack finally breaks down and admits that he still loves her, but he insists that they can never be together. While Mary walks away in tears, Slim starts playing a beautiful melody on the piano, and Sammy gets ready to perform. As soon as he starts playing his soulful blues, the entire crowd is completely mesmerized by his raw talent. Sammy's music is so incredibly powerful, it actually pierces the veil between life and death. Mysterious glowing spirits of dancers and musicians from the past and future appear in the room, and they start dancing. Once his performance ends, Sammy takes Pearline to a quiet private room to get intimate. Meanwhile, the magical music has also caught the attention of the vampires, who have been watching from the shadows. The three pale strangers walk up to the entrance, but Cornbread immediately steps in to block their path. The twins quickly walk over to see what is going on, and Remick claims they're just traveling musicians. When Remick offers to pay them with strange gold coins, the twins explain that they do not allow white people. The mysterious trio has no choice but to leave, but the strange encounter leaves Smoke feeling very uneasy. He goes to find Sammy in the back room, telling him that he needs to pack his things and go home. Smoke even pulls out his loaded gun when Sammy refuses to listen, but the brave young singer stands his ground. Sammy is determined to find a better life, and Smoke eventually sighs and puts his weapon away. Out on the road, Mary goes after the three strange musicians to check if they have real cash, carrying a small revolver for protection. She eventually finds the three strangers, and Remick proudly shows her his ancient gold coins. After a brief conversation, Remick's eyes suddenly flash with a demonic red light, and Mary gasps in horror as he lunges forward to sink his fangs deep in her neck. Meanwhile, Cornbread decides to take a quick toilet break, leaving Slim alone to guard the front door. While he is peeing in the dark woods, Cornbread suddenly hears a soft voice whispering his name, and a monstrous figure emerges to bite him. Back inside the joint, Mary quietly slips back into the building and hand Stacks several gold coins. She pulls him into a private room, kissing him passionately to distract him while she bites his neck. Stack is so overwhelmed by his feelings that he does not even notice the bloody bite mark on her shoulder. Before he can realize what is happening, Mary's eyes turn red, and she bites down on his neck. At the exact same time, a violent fight breaks out in the crowded gambling room. An angry player has pulled out a sharp blade, actively cutting the other gamblers. Smoke quickly rushes in to restore order, easily overpowering him at gunpoint. When the players search the cheater's pockets, they discover that he was using loaded dice to steal their money. Smoke sends Sammy to find his brother, but Sammy quickly backs away when he sees the couple getting busy. Sammy returns to the gambling room, telling Smoke that his brother is currently too busy to help. Smoke is highly annoyed by this, so he decides to go get his twin himself. As he walks down the hall, Smoke notices that Cornbread is still missing from the front door. He kicks the private room door open, and he is horrified to find a pale Mary actively drinking Stack's blood. Smoke immediately opens fire with both of his pistols, but Mary lets out a terrifying hiss and escapes into the woods. Stack gasps his final breath, dying right in his twin's arms as Smoke cries out in agony. They decide to lock Stack's lifeless body in a secure side room, and Slim starts rushing all of the panicked guests out. Cornbread returns to the front door, and Annie instantly gets suspicious of his behavior. When Cornbread refuses to explain why he needs an invitation, Annie points her finger and accuses him of being a monster. Cornbread's face suddenly twists into a demonic mask, and he tries to drag Smoke outside. Smoke quickly shoots the bouncer in the face, but the bullet barely even slows the monster down. The survivors barely manage to push the beast back, locking the heavy wooden door behind them. Before they can catch their breath, they hear a loud scratching sound coming from the side room. Stack is now awake, and he's actively stabbing the wooden door with his pocket knife, screaming that he is completely fine. Suddenly, Stack completely smashes the wooden door to pieces, tackling Sammy directly to the floor. Annie quickly throws a jar of pickled garlic juice at his face, causing the creature to scream in agony and flee. While Smoke helps a terrified Sammy to his feet, Grace cries out that she needs to find her husband. Bo went outside earlier to get their car, and they're terrified that the monsters might have gotten them. Annie grabs her shoulder and convinces her to stay inside, pointing out that wandering into the woods means certain death. Annie gathers the remaining survivors, explaining that these beasts can only be killed by garlic, steaks, holy water, silver, and the sun. While they're preparing their chair-leg weapons, Annie pulls Smoke aside to make him promise that if she ever gets bitten, he must kill her before she can transform. They are horrified to find a dead guest lying on the floor, realizing the creatures have already breached their defenses. When Smoke and Sammy drag the body outside, they spot Remick standing in the middle of a massive crowd of turned locals. The newly turned vampires are mindlessly dancing and playing instruments around their master, who is happily singing, forcing Smoke and Sammy to quickly rush back inside. To make sure no one else has been infected, Annie forces everyone in the room to eat a piece of raw garlic. Suddenly, another loud knock echoes through the building, and they see a guest being devoured by cornbread. A few moments later, Bo appears at the window and calls out to his wife, claiming that he has the car ready. The group is far too terrified to trust him, and their conversation is interrupted by Remick's loud voice. Remick claims his dark power is the only way for black people to find true freedom, promising to let them live if they surrender Sammy. When Smoke refuses, Remick threatens to travel to the nearby town and turn Bo and Grace's young daughter. He also reveals a shocking truth, explaining that Hogwood sold them the land so the local clan could easily slaughter the black community. Stack and Mary suddenly appear, begging them to accept. They argue that becoming immortal is the only way to protect themselves. But the survivors firmly refuse to give up their humanity. Grace is completely consumed by panic, screaming out a loud invitation for the vampires to enter the building. Before anyone can stop her, the heavy wooden doors burst open and the bloodthirsty horde storms inside. Suddenly, a massive and chaotic battle erupts in the middle of the juke joint. Grace throws a burning torch at Remick, but the powerful vampire easily deflects the flames. She then tackles her turned husband, Bo, into a pile of burning wood, stabbing him with a stake before the fire consumes them both. The remaining friends fight with absolute desperation, using their sharpened stakes and silver bullets to kill the monsters. Slim bravely decides to act as bait, and the horde quickly piles on top of him. While Slim is being torn to pieces, Stack corners Annie and bites her. Smoke screams in absolute agony as he rushes to her side, but he is immediately tackled to the ground by Remick. Pearline shoots Remick in the shoulder to push him off, and Smoke crawls over to his dying ex-wife. Annie looks into his eyes and reminds him of his promise, forcing Smoke to drive a wooden stake directly into her heart as he cries. Even the turned twins, Stack and Mary, look incredibly sad when they see Annie die. The surviving friends quickly run up the stairs, but Remick is already waiting for them at the upper exit. He blocks their only escape path, violently flinging Pearline against a thick wooden beam and biting her. Smoke manages to tackle Stack over the railing, shooting at Remick to keep him away from Sammy. Pearline looks at Sammy with tears in her eyes, begging him to run away before she transforms. Sammy has no choice but to leap through the upper door, landing awkwardly and severely hurting his leg. He tries his best to limp away into the dark woods, but Remick suddenly drops down right behind him. The vicious vampire slashes Sammy across the face, causing him to tumble into the cold lake. Remick pins him down and prepares to deliver the final bite, but he hesitates when Sammy starts praying loudly to God. Because of their connected hive mind, all of the nearby vampires suddenly stop in their tracks and begin praying along with him. Remick gets incredibly annoyed by this religious reaction, which begins to drown him. Sammy uses the distraction, smashing the wooden neck of his guitar over Remick's head. When the wood shatters, the sudden spiritual shockwave causes all of the surrounding vampires to scream out in absolute agony. Before Remick can recover from the blow, Smoke suddenly emerges from the shadows and drives a massive stake through his chest. At that exact moment, the morning sun finally rises, burning the remaining monsters to ashes. As Remick dissolves, Smoke forces Sammy to take his car and drive away. Smoke decides to stay behind and prepare for his final battle, gathering every single gun and grenade he can find. A few moments later, Hogwood arrives with a large group of armed clan members. Smoke opens fire from the safety of the woods, managing to kill half of the attackers before they even know what is happening. The remaining clan members quickly return fire, shooting Smoke directly in the stomach. When two men try to escape in a pickup truck, Smoke throws a grenade and blows the vehicle to absolute pieces. The only man left standing is Hogwood, who is trembling with fear as Smoke slowly approaches him. Smoke takes a lit cigarette from the dying man's hand, starting to have beautiful hallucinations of his deceased wife and daughter. He shoots Hogwood dead with his final bullet, and he peacefully closes his eyes. The story now loops back to the very beginning, and Sammy stands inside his father's church as he refuses to drop his guitar. He tells Jedediah that he will never give up his passion, deciding to leave Mississippi forever. Sammy realizes that his life in Mississippi is officially over, and he packs his bags and heads far north to Chicago. He spends the next several decades performing in various dark clubs, and he eventually grows into a very old man. One quiet night in the year 1992, an elderly Sammy is resting in his dressing room after a long show. He is shocked when an ageless Stack and Mary suddenly walk in, looking exactly the same as they did 60 years ago. Stack explains that Smoke could not bring himself to kill them, letting them escape on the condition that they never harm Sammy. The vampire couple can tell that Sammy does not have much time left, so they offer to turn him into an immortal beast. Sammy politely declines their offer because he is tired of this cruel world, but he agrees to play one final song for his long-lost cousins. Sinner's 2025 movie recap ends with the music fills the room. Then Stack admits that opening night was the last time he ever saw the sun. They all agree it was the last time they were truly happy, and finally, they cherish the memories of a night when they were finally free.